Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everyone? It's Geoff, Mosher, and Adam Caplan. You can sense that enthusiasm in me today, Adam, as here's how I am about snow.
All
Either
right.
give me no snow or give me a foot of snow. I don't want like 4 inches of snow. I want it all or I want none.
You're getting it.
And, I know. It sounds like we're getting it all. So I look forward to seeing. My kids are excited, man. They're going to get to go sledding for the first time in a while.
As a kid, did you like snow growing up?
Yeah, of course.
We missed school. Yeah, we missed school. We see Cheltenham was 305. Any of you Cheltenhamites, any Panthers out there? Were we 305? I don't remember. 30 something. But KYW. So those of you who didn't grow up in Philly, so KYW 1060 radio was the station for school announcements for snow. So you're like, come on, say it.
Oh, it was great.
Right?
That elation of, I know now it's like the internet and you can find out.
Oh, is that how it works?
You just have to, I think so.
Do you go to your high school, like the kids' school, like website or?
No, but now it's like automated. Like I got the call Sunday night. I got the call Sunday at like 4:00 that school was canceled. It really took the drama out of it. No, I remember. And if you would miss, you would listen again. Or if it snowed in some part of the area, but not everywhere, you'd be like, oh, I didn't hear my school's name. I want to hear it again, you know?
Those are the days. You know, it is funny before we get started here. And I don't want to jinx it, but, you know, in last couple of years, we've gotten very little snow, but when it snowed, we might get a big storm. So this is our second storm out east here. The last one, I don't know, was it 6 weeks ago or something?
Yeah, but you got a lot. I didn't get any in Jersey. We got barely an inch or two, you know, at most. And it was gone by the next morning. So
lucky you, because this one is going to be bad. But, you know, we bought this snowblower like 4 or 5 years ago, and we didn't use it last year. And I'm like, why the hell did we buy this thing? So we got use out of it, though, and we'll do it again.
All right. Well, look, we got a lot to get into. Yeah. We're going to continue to talk about Nick Sirianni's coaching staff. There have been a few moves there. We're going to get into his press conference a little bit, which was interesting to say the least, and we haven't had a chance really to weigh in on it all that much. And for everybody to know, this is going to be our last week of the in-season podcast that we do, 3 a week. After the Super Bowl, we will switch back to having 2 podcasts a week. It will be Monday and Thursday, but not to worry. We still will have our ITB TVs. We are also, as we mentioned on our last podcast, working on bringing some more Inside the Birds content to people, as you know, Adam. And we won't name names or say anything yet. But if people like Grilling the Birds and people like Tales from the Blind Side, we are working to expand that part of
we got a meeting this week, and should we give a little hint? Maybe
I don't know. I like to keep them guessing.
All right.
We'll drop.
I'm excited about it. If they pull this one off, this is one that I don't want to say came out of left field. We're a big relationship-driven group here, and through our relationships, we get kind of lucky, and we'll see how it goes. We're excited about the potential of something, and then I'll start writing for the website in February, later in February, like I did last year, and we're looking at doing some draft stuff. We'll have Greg Cosell involved with us. Probably, we may actually do a little free agency with him. I have to see if he's going to watch any free agency guys for free agency. I don't know, but we'll see. But I'll tell you what, that Joe Banner interview, the stuff that interview, I didn't know where we were. We know what we wanted to ask him, but the great thing about not just the interviews with Joe is when you ask people something, you never know what they're going to say or where they're going to take it. Mm-hmm. And this last interview was probably the most unique interview that we've had with him of the 4 or 5. And I highly encourage you to listen and watch or watch.
Definitely do. I loved it. I thought we had a good angle in that we didn't just ask about this new coach, Nick Sirianni, but also just the process and what it's like. So definitely check that out on ITB TV. Before we get started, big shout out. We said we would do this last podcast as long as we got the information correct. Gary from Scotland, we got a listener. Sent us a beautiful picture of one of the lakes that he must live near. Not Loch Ness, though, I was told.
Is Gary from here? Or is he from there?
Hey, listen, I'm not writing a book on these guys.
No. Gary, let us know. I'm just curious. Because we had a guy check in from Germany. We've had over time Korea, But what I like to always to know is how do they become Eagle fans? That to me
that's
is
a great question. Hit us up.
Yeah,
Hit us up. We want to know. Leo from Taiwan. I think
Leo,
I said Thailand last time. I meant Taiwan.
Okay. Got you.
And so shout out to them. Big shout out to a good listener, by the way, Ethan from DraftKings. You know who he is. He's a listener.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
Always appreciates the work, so we appreciate him. And let's move forward a little bit. Let's get into. Listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. We're going to start talking about the coaching staff a little bit. I have some very strong opinions and convictions about what went on Friday in that press conference.
Okay.
And we're going to get into that too, because a couple of things got my blood pumping.
All right. I'll get out of the way.
But I want to, we got to talk about the coaching staff because there are some new additions here.
Oh yeah. We got some intel, some new stuff we were not aware of. Jeff and I started digging and, we learned some stuff. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So on Friday, Adam, I had reported that the Eagles were going to part ways with Tim Houck, the safeties coach. So that started to show there might be some movement in the defensive backfield, and we hadn't heard exactly what was going on. And then, of course, the hiring of Dennard Wilson from the Jets. Now, he coached D-backs with the Jets?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
They are a little bit surprised that he left. They headed to Senior Bowl week thinking he was staying. To say that he was one of the best coaches on the defense would be an understatement. He apparently is really good and an excellent teacher, and he's been a good story of development as a D-backs coach. Former player, didn't play in the league for very long, but he actually started his career in scouting, and they really like him. I know that they think this is a loss, and again, to sum it up, they're a little bit surprised that he's not back. It sounds like it was his choice to leave. Now they're running a different defense. The Jets are going to run a combination of the Seattle 43, cover 3, and a little bit of what the Niners ran. And, I understand he coached for Greg Williams. They ran a 34. I don't know the exact reason why he chose to come to Philly, but I got to tell you, this defensive staff, and we're going to get into that because we have even more intel. This is built. Folks, I'm not guaranteeing that they're going to blitz a lot. I'm just telling you they're going to blitz more. But the big thing is you're going to see disguise. I'm telling you, you're going to love this defense. If it goes like I've heard, you're going to love it.
So is there a connection between John Gannon and this guy? I mean, did they coach
I couldn't find it. No? I don't know how.
What about Sirianni? Didn't one of the coaches coach of the Jets for a year? Patullo, right? No,
Patullo, maybe.
Yeah, that wouldn't be
I mean, defense. I don't know, but it's a hell of a score because I didn't know much about him. But my Jets source, was very honest about it, and he said this is definitely a loss. Right. So okay, good for the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, it is good if the guy is going to be well recommended and come well. You know how I feel about this much change, though, and this will be their third D-backs coach in the last 3 years. So hopefully he can stay on and be a D-backs coach here for quite a while. And, there's been a lot made about Gannon really having that potential of being a defensive coordinator in the next 2 or 3 years. As you've said a couple of times, he's the hot name to now become a defensive coordinator. So hopefully you bring in a guy like Dennard and if you like him so much, hopefully you think that maybe he can be a successor if you lose Gannon in a year or two.
Oh yeah. Cause I could tell you, it's funny you say that. Colt source said to me, I was just trying to gather a little bit of information on scheme and aggressiveness and all that. He goes, this Colt source said that maybe one of the most impressive assistants they've had since Chris Ballard, the GM, got there. High riser. This guy said, if he does as well as they think he's going to do, this guy said, he'll probably be head coach by year 3. So you're right. That's why I said to start this, they're onto something with these defensive coaches, but listen, this is a new role for Gannon. He's not run a defensive force. So this is the next step in his career. He's old enough to do it. He's experienced enough to do it, but we'll see.
Well, a lot of turnover from this Eagles defensive staff. And it's interesting because Jim Schwartz had people he loved, who loved him. Jim Schwartz had fans who did not like him too much. There were a lot of people in the middle, but you got a new defensive coordinator. You will have a new defensive backs coach. You have a new defensive line coach with Tracy Rocker. You have a new, I just mentioned Dennard Wilson, defensive backs coach. So they're still waiting on a linebackers coach and Matt Burke and seeing what's going to happen there. It's so strange to me that we've gone this far in, right, Adam, without having certainty at some of these positions.
But at least we got to be. I mean, the fact that I've not, I usually would hear by now if Matt Burke's getting the job, but I think we've both said, but the longer it goes on, the better you would think that he would stay. Mm-hmm. And plus, if you're Matt Burke, he needs to know where he's going if he's not going to be here in Philly. So we'll find out, obviously, within next 48 hours.
Well, I'm starting to second guess myself, though, because the longer it goes on, that makes me think the longer Nick is doing more interviews and trying.
Well, I was just going to say, unless he's doing more interviews, that would surprise me if he's doing that. But overall, this looks like on paper, because again, they haven't coached together, as you said. That we our information would suggest that it's a very positive situation on defense, and it's just I'm very curious to see how he game plans and teaches pre-snap disguise and so forth. Because from what I understand, that's definitely coming here. How much so and how he does it is obviously up to him. But I'm interested to see how he's going to do it.
Well, I always say I'm excited by change, at any level, and so this is going to be a pretty overhauled defensive staff. Even if Burke stays, right? Even if Burke stays, it's really just one position coach from last year and really one from the Schwartz era staying. So it's going to look different. Yeah.
So Schwartz is gone. Nate Ollie left, the assistant D-line coach to the Jets. Ken Flagel asked out. Ryan Pagnetti, I think you reported that he's not retained. Is that correct?
It fell in line with the fact that they're not going to have assistant coaches at every position, so I assume that he will not be retained.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
he was assistant linebackers, right? You reported Tim Houck's out as safeties.
Right.
Marquand Manuel, he's not the DBs coach anymore, and I'm sure he wants to be a DBs coach somewhere. I would not expect him back, and I just don't see any way he's back based on Wilson getting the job. So unless they could find something else for him to do there, I'm sure he wants to be a position coach. So I don't see it. Dave Phipp is out as the special teams coach because he's a special teams coach for Detroit. But the thing is weird about that is it was reported that the Eagles blocked him, and then he eventually went. So it's odd to me that they did that. And then we'll get to the new coaches here, but that one was a little bit odd.
Yeah, the only sense I could make of it was that they were holding on to him to give the new coach a chance to interview him, and then when the new coach decided to move on, then they allowed him to move on. That's the only thing that would make sense to me about it.
Gotcha.
All right, let's get to the offensive staff. Before we do that, we're going to tell you to go to check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all of the Philadelphia sports teams like nobody else. They are for the fan and by the fan. That's their motto. So make sure you're checking out all their great coverage, their content, their podcasts at phlsportsnation.com. And of course, you can find them on Twitter at phlsportsnation. Let's pause one more moment for a word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right, on the offensive staff, Adam, and this kind of shocks me, but as of Sunday night, I had heard that Aaron Morehead was still not aware of what his ultimate fate will be on the Eagles coaching staff. He had a conversation with Nick Sirianni quite a while ago.
And they know each other, by the way.
They know each other.
Yeah, they were together in 2018 when Morehead was a coaching intern, I think, before he went to Vanderbilt. So what do you know about this, Morehead?
He still has not been given the assurance that he is still the Eagles wide receiver coach as of Sunday night. So I'm perplexed by this. Like, I get the idea you want. I believe he was.
I did hear that Sirianni was going to interview somebody else. Just, I guess, late in the week he was supposed to interview somebody else. Morehead's under contract, and like you said, this should be. I mean, within a day, he should know whether he's going to be the receivers coach. I'm a little bit surprised that it's gone this long, but I don't have an answer why. I don't have access to the way that Sirianni thinks. So, it's a little bit surprising to me that he's not officially back, but we will see.
Adam, if they hire a new wide receivers coach, that will be their 6th wide receivers coach in 6 freaking years.
I've never heard of that before.
Now, we had a really good talk with Joe Banner about the idea of competence versus continuity. He would agree that continuity is good, but not if you don't have the right people in place.
Right.
And of course, I would totally agree. You don't want to keep a guy just for the sake of keeping a guy. But when you have 6 different coaches, it's bad enough that it's 5 in 5 years, right? if it's going to be 6 in 6 years, they better hire the best damn wide receivers coach who's available, because it says a lot. I've said it before, but about the vetting process of this team. And that's not Nick Sirianni's fault. He just got here, but you can't have that many wide receivers coaches in that many years and profess to be a functional organization.
That's not good. See, what has to happen is the front office has got to step in here and just cut this out. This can't continue to happen. So, okay, they missed on Greg Lewis. Okay, I understand that.
Did they?
Well, here's the problem. Yeah, but see, you say that, but if you look at, was Tyreek Hill special before Greg Lewis got there?
Yeah, I would not put Tyreek Hill, but I would say DeMarcus Robinson and Mecole Hardman, I've had no issues with them. I don't think the Chiefs do.
No, but DeMarcus Robinson's a backup special teamer. So that's what he is.
But when he steps into look, let's remember, people killed Greg Lewis because Nelson Aguilar would line up wrong and drop passes.
That's true.
And they acted like it was his fault, or that Jordan Matthews was not an explosive outside wide receiver. That's not his fault. They were literally saying that Greg Lewis was the problem, but he went to Kansas City and nobody who was good like Tyreek Hill got worse. And backup players who have been asked to step into roles have played well. So
let's just say in 16. Okay, I'll take this one step further. In 16, Greg Lewis had an issue getting the guys to pay attention. This is there was a step for him, the way it was explained to me at the time. This is 5 years ago. I just remember hearing that it was not going well for Greg Lewis during the season. Now, he's back with Andy. This is, by the way, Doug Peterson was a rookie head coach then.
Right.
So that's, that was that. And that's probably what happened there. But yeah, okay, it's worked out for him.
I'll be the first to admit that he was young when he took it. He didn't have that much experience. Yeah. However, I'm not going to side with the organization that is about to have maybe its sixth wide receivers over the one that's been very successful since he's got there or before he got there and is still successful.
That's where I agree with you. Well, here's where they screwed up. Mike Rowe should not have been promoted. Okay, that was a mistake.
Yeah, that's fair too.
They were so hell-bent on not offering anyone Frank Reich was going to be a head coach, obviously. That DiFilippo was not offered, as I understand it, a chance to come back as the OC to replace Frank. So he took the Vikings OC job. Okay. They were hell-bent on promoting Mike Rowe. Okay. For whatever reason, Mike's a nice guy. He's an outstanding receivers coach. I'm sure if they could go back, they would have kept Mike as the receivers coach, either talk to DiFilippo to keep him or talk to somebody else and keep continuity at the receivers coach, because Mike is one of the best receiver coaches in the league. This is not a secret. Anyone who's coached with him knows this.
Sure.
Guys who've coached with him told me. Said he's really damn good at it.
Yeah, the Colts did a pretty decent job with their receivers.
He's done a good job with them. So Zach Pascal, where did they get that guy? Anyway,
seriously.
Look, that was a mistake, and they paid for it. That was, if you and I rank the biggest mistakes with their coaching staff, that was one to not keep a Grow as the receivers coach. So that was a mistake. So Gunter Brewer brought him from college. That was, we will be kind about this. To say it didn't work was an understatement. Yep. He had no chance to come back.
Carson Walsh after that.
Carson Walsh. I forgot about him. That was, he was too little short guy, had no presence, nice kid. He should have been the assistant receivers coach. Mm-hmm. That didn't work. Aaron Morehead took over a room where there was a lack of leadership with the receivers. None of them are leaders. That was the word that I got. It's really, no. Deshaun got hurt early.
Yep.
Alshon's come back from injury.
Right.
Who are the young guys who were leaders? No.
How do you be a leader when you're a 5th round pick like John Hightower, or a 6th rounder like Quez Watkins?
I get it. But
Greg Ward did.
Greg Ward's a great kid, but he's quiet. There was no leadership in the room. And that's why I've said, and I know some people on our Facebook board talked about it. I mentioned on our show last week, and I guess they wanted to chime in, which is cool. And I chimed in also on the board about getting an alpha receiver there. They need a veteran receiver that's done it before, that leads by example, that sets the tone for the room. That to me is something that it's kind of nebulous, Geoff. You can't when you're around it. I use the Jarvis Landry. Now, he's an extreme one because he's a super type A, great guy, great player, proven, and he takes control of the room. That you got to do a lot of research on if you're a club. Getting a guy with 100 catches is not what I mean, folks. Getting a guy who's got 60 catches, but is healthy, plays hurt. Will coaches will get on the players? They've total respect. Just a leader. Jason Avant type. Okay, he's a great example of it.
Great example. Yep.
Okay, they need somebody like that in the room. That to me is the way it was explained to me is what that room needs.
Well, we will see if Nick Sirianni thinks that Aaron Morehead deserves to be that guy for another year. Yeah. And I just want everybody to know up front, we have a lot of new listeners because I've said this before, but because we have new listeners, I have to repeat it. I have no skin in the game there with my defense of Greg Lewis. I actually, as a reporter, I've told you this before, I didn't like Greg that much.
Oh, is that right? I actually
he was a wise ass. I mean, listen, I'm a wise ass too, but professionally, I can table that, right? But I thought he was a wise ass in the locker room and condescending at times. So
really?
I didn't really like him that much, and I'm still not going to sit here and throw him under the bus. So
no, but I appreciate you being honest about it. Okay,
that's cool.
Yeah.
So that was Aaron Morehead. So there's still no running backs coach as well, correct?
Well, a couple things here. Okay, so we know about Steichen being the OC. We've talked about him ad nauseum. So let me add this on Kevin Patullo.
Mm-hmm.
So another added benefit from having him, I didn't know this until I talked to someone from the Colts. Because the more you talk, Geoff, as you know, the more you talk to people, the more pins you get. And our goal out of this is to find out more about these coaches because that's what people want. Right. So I didn't know that Patullo played receiver in his career in addition to being quarterback. So you've got the head coach is a former college receiver, Patullo, who also has coached receivers 2 years for the Colts before Groh got there, and also played receiver and quarterback in college. The way he's explained to me is that these guys will oversee the receiver position in addition to whoever who's going to be the receivers coach, whether it's Morehead or somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So as we were just talking about before we move on to the next position, if this position is not coached well, then there's a major problem. There's no way it should get away. Like these guys should. With Doug Peterson let get out of hand last season, that bleep ain't going to happen this season. Is the way I see it.
I think that's actually one of the things that people are excited about, Adam, is the fact that they feel like this head coach and his staff will do a better job of developing wide receivers than the Eagles have done lately. And as you're making, the point you make is there's really no excuse at this point with all the pedigrees that people have here. There's just really no excuse. They got to get better at this. All right. What other positions on offense did we go through here?
So we talked about Brian Johnson, the last show. He's super smart, detailed, high riser, former collegiate OC, quarterbacks coach at U of F. That's look, you're getting one of the top college coaches on offense.
Yeah.
He and Patullo have ideas from their time in college football, so we'll see what they bring. As you said, Deuce Staley moved on, so the running backs coach is open. I know that they're looking at some college coaches. I have not heard of any NFL coaches they're talking to. I'm kind of surprised this has not been filled, but I'm sure he's interviewed guys, so we'll get that for our Wednesday show. If it's not announced yet, we'll have it. If it's not reported, we'll know it. It's not going to be a problem. We talked about receivers. We talked about Jason Michael the last show. I was with the Colts as their tight ends coach, and now he's the Eagles tight ends coach. And Jeff Stoutland is retained. So here's the interesting thing. If you look at their offensive staff, a lot of little notes here. We know that here's a question. So Press Taylor's not back as the quarterback's coach. Okay, they didn't as we reported, he was not retained. He's now with the Colts, whatever role he's going to have there. He's a passing game coordinator. I do wonder, Geoff, and this is for those of you new to our show, we've outlined for 3 years the problems that their coaches had coaching Wentz and being tough enough on him and all that since DeFilippo and Reich left. I don't know how, when you look at Brian Johnson, he's 33 years old. I heard he's smart and he's a really talented coach. I don't know how hard he coaches. So right. I don't know how much better it's going to be if Wentz is here, and I'm not convinced he's going to be here. He's under contract. We'll see what happens. We outlined how these interviews went for these coaches. They were asked about Wentz and all that. Doesn't guarantee he's going to be back. I can't guarantee you that Brian Johnson is ready to coach hard here. I don't know that.
I agree with you. I think, I think you can go with Nick Sirianni as well. I mean, you can put them all under the microscope and say, this is such kind of an, I don't want to use the wrong word, not underwhelming, but it's just a staff of people that I don't think they're not household names, right? It's not like when Doug got hired and you had Frank Reich, who everybody knew about from as a player and as a coach. And of course, Jim Schwartz. this is an understated staff. We just don't know much about him. And I think some of that scares fans, and I think some of that entices fans. I mean, if you're just ready to kind of blindly jump right in, it's pretty enticing, but we're really not going to know for quite a while about it. But I you made the point about Brian Johnson a couple of pods ago, and it's really true. It's hard. I mean, he's 33 years old.
Yeah.
He's coming from the college ranks.
Wentz is 28.
Like really, this is one of the biggest issues surrounding the team. So you wonder if he's got the moxie to be able to go ahead and tell Carson, no, buddy, you're wrong. You're wrong. Like, you think that there's no play there. There's a play to be made there, and you got to make that. That'll be
and yes. And even if they trade Wentz, Jalen Hurts is a type A. I know that for a fact based on they're talking to the Eagles about him. They like him a lot. He's strong-willed guy, coach's son. We'll see. We'll see if how hard he coaches Johnson coaches Hurts. Right. You got two type A quarterbacks, Wentz and Hurts in their own way. This is fascinating to see a guy that's highly touted as a coach of Brian Johnson. Mm-hmm. Now he's taking a big step up to the pros, and it ain't easy, man. It ain't easy.
No,
it's not going to be easy.
It will not, but it'll be fun to watch for all of us involved.
Yep.
All right, we want to talk about this press conference a little bit. I got to, get some stuff off.
Yeah, just before we get there. So here's where we're at with it. So the guys who are not back, I mentioned Press Taylor, Scangarello's not back as the senior offensive assistant. He was not asked back. He's now with the Niners. Marty Mornhinweg was not asked back. Deuce Staley we talked about. Justin Peel asked out. Matt Harper, I think you reported that he's not retained. Is that correct?
Not in the same role. I know that, right?
He's definitely not. Yeah, right. Yeah. He was assistant receiver, so he's not back in that role if he's back at all. Mike Bartram is not back as assistant tight ends. I have not heard whether they're going to re-sign him or. This is a Doug Peterson guy. I'd be surprised if he's back, but I haven't followed up on that one.
I would also be surprised if he's back.
Okay. And
in fact, if I saw, wasn't he reportedly in the run for the Marshall head coach?
Yeah. Marshall.
I wonder if whoever, I don't think he got it, but I wonder as they put together a staff, if he's somebody they have in mind or will have in mind, because he played there. So
he's a vet, right. And Mike Bartram's a veteran coach.
He is a veteran coach.
And then status unclear. Andrew Briner, the passing game analyst.
Mm-hmm.
TJ Pagnetti, Ryan's brother, assistant running backs, assistant run game coordinator. Luke Thompson, their assistant special teams coach. I didn't even know he was on the staff. I didn't know he was. Roy Estevan. Now, okay, so I was told he's assistant line coach. He was brought in by Stout.
Okay.
So I would think he's staying, but I don't know that for a fact. I just was told that he was brought in by Stout. And then Dino Vasso, who was, I believe, in Kansas City with Peterson, assistant coordinator defense. He got a promotion. See, Peterson, I don't know if you know this, Peterson – over his final 2 years, gave everybody like a promotion, like all these low-level assistants. Let's say they were, assistant to the assistant to the assistant.
I feel like that's a Seinfeld reference.
I know, assistant to the traveling secretary. Costanza. But anyway, he gave them all titles so they could get more money. He did right by them.
Mm-hmm.
But as we reported a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, most of them will not be brought back. And as you said, some of them might be reassigned to be kept. But anyway, that's where we're at there. And that was
a lot of turnover.
Yeah. Look, it was natural. You got a new head coach. I mean, this was Doug Peterson's idea. So,
Yep. No doubt about it. All right, we'll move on to the press conference. First, support for Inside the Birds is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. And we got big news. Manscaped just released its new cologne scent to help you feel good and smell good all over and at all times. Who knew that smelling this good could feel this good too? All right, I know that I stink sometimes, and when I do, I got to go to that bottle and get a few sprays in and start to feel myself again. And everyone knows that Manscaped has the perfect package 3.0 for all your below-the-waist grooming needs, but they didn't stop there, thankfully, because they completed their grooming game with the new refined cologne signature scent that's by Manscaped. So with the same signature scent that's in all Manscaped formulas, this cologne is a perfect complement to the collection. Light, approachable, gentlemanly in all the right ways. It's your wingman for the night that keep you fresh and ready for anything. So it's calming and inviting. This signature scent introduces a light citrus burst before settling into the anchoring notes of vetiver and a woodsy masculine finish. This 50 milliliter spray cologne is even hypoallergenic, cruelty-free, dye-free, paraben-free, and 100% vegan. So this beautifully designed glass bottle makes a statement, and the manly scent is attractive to the mood. Also, be sure to check out the Perfect Package 3.0 with all the essentials for your below-the-waist grooming needs, including the Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer and crop formulations. Yes, I'm talking about ball deodorant and toner to keep your testes besties. All right, now you can use the new Manscaped Refined Cologne to complete your set and smell great anytime, anywhere. It is time to feel sexy. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code ITB at manscaped.com. Your body and your balls will thank you. 20% off, free shipping. Use the promo code ITB at manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping at manscaped.com. Use that promo code ITB. Look good, smell good, feel good with Manscaped. All right. You know who wasn't feeling very good on Friday after Nick Sirianni's press conference? About 5 million Eagles fans.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Probably the head coach himself.
I some coaches I know around the league reach out to me and go, man,
I had that too.
What's wrong with him? I was like, he got nervous. He got a little tight. He's a super high energy guy. He needed to slow down.
Yeah.
So all right, before we get into the weeds on this thing. Because I understand fans were, because look, there was nothing else going on in Eagleville. There's no games. The team's not in the playoffs. You have a new coach. You're waiting for him. You wait a week for him to speak. So there's such anticipation. Dave Spadaro, our friend from PhiladelphiaEagles.com, did a really good interview with him Thursday night, which they posted. Mm-hmm. Nick was really calm, great, really good, by the way. People were pretty psyched.
Yeah.
And he gave some good information out. And then he gets into this live one, and he rushed himself. And by the way, folks, if you listen to our Friday show, we Geoff and I did a preview over this. We did a Sirianni interview, a press conference preview, and we did say his first question is going to be all about Wentz, and his second and third and fifth and seventh and ninth. Poor guy. And so let me ask this question.
Yeah.
Should Howie Roseman have been there to help out? Should he also been there to speak?
That probably would have helped, especially with all the Carson Wentz questions. Look, the first stone I'm throwing is at Jeffrey Lurie.
All right.
Because all right, they must have said we're gonna take like an hour. We're gonna give everybody an hour. We're gonna go start with Geoff, then Nick's gonna make his opening statement, then we'll do a Q&A with reporters. Well, Geoff takes up like what? You recorded it.
Wait, back up. Did you say that they said before this they were gonna take questions?
No, I'm assuming that they carved out like an hour, that they set the template here that they're going to have an hour.
Here's the thing. Okay. On that. So on Friday, the Eagles press conference started at 12 Eastern. I don't know this, but I find it fascinating. They literally ended at 1 p.m. Eastern because David Culley's press conference is at 1 p.m. Eastern in Houston. Just so happened. I just thought I'd throw that out there. I thought it was funny.
So Geoff takes up like 16 minutes with this sermon on the head coaching search. And in that, he addresses things that have nothing to do with the head coaching search. And that's fine. Like he wanted to talk about how much he loved Deuce and the Deuce situation. Okay, talked about that. Fine. Talked about thanking. I mean, he thanked everybody under the sun, not just the people who interviewed and how great they are, but also the people who helped him interview candidates and how great they are. That's fine. You want to look, that's good. Good owner. Thank everybody. But then you disappear and you don't answer any questions. You just went on a major head coaching search. You interviewed all of these candidates. You had some really interesting names on that list. People want to know, well, why this guy over that guy? What about this? What about that? Tell us more about what really, moved you other than some cliches about he's a great communicator and he has a real presence. Okay, give me a story. Tell me when you knew, right? I bet you if you sat down with Jeffrey and said, Geoff, tell me when you knew Andy Reid was your guy.
Oh, we asked Joe Banner that.
We had Joe Banner do it, right?
Yeah.
So people have the right to have those questions and get them answered. Instead, he takes up, almost 20% of the allotted time, says goodbye, and you get no questions from him. That was my first beef. And then, as you mentioned, look, the reporters got to do their job. They have to ask Carson Wentz questions. I don't have an issue with that. I do think that after the first 3 that it was pretty clear he wasn't going to answer them, and maybe it would have been better to ask something else, but whatever. It's a big situation. This is not Nick Sirianni. He inherited this Carson Wentz mess, right? This is Jeffrey and Howie to speak for. How is he supposed to answer these questions when he's
that's why
I was standpoint.
I was surprised that Roseman did not speak, that he wasn't up there. I understand that it's the head coach's moment. I get all that, and the owner introduced him. But this is what I would have done. I would have Jeffrey, just like Cal McNair did, the Texas owner. Mm-hmm. Cal spoke for about a minute and a half, and he got out of the way. He turned over to Nick Caserio. Caserio led the press conference, and then Culley spoke, and they took both, and the media was able to ask Culley and Caserio questions.
Sure.
Okay.
That's how it should have been done.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why they did it like that. I knowing this media here, okay, we told you they're going to go after the Wentz questions with Sirianni, okay? Mm-hmm. Knowing that, that's it. I mean, I just don't know why they didn't do that, but hey, c'est la vie. So it was like.
What is the expectation? Like, for example, we know that Carson Wentz's name came up in the interviews with head coaches, right?
Yep.
What's your plan? They wanted to hear what the plan was. But we also know, and I know you've been reported this, it didn't mean that Carson Wentz was definitely going to be on the team. So how is Nick Sirianni supposed to answer a question about who's his opening day starter? I think that was Howard Eskin throwing that one out there. Yeah. When he doesn't know if Carson's going to be on the team, and that's not even something that he can control. As bad, he may say, Howie, please keep Carson Wentz. But if Howie gets a deal, Howie's in charge of the personnel. We know that. So that's a Howie Roseman question. I thought, and listen, they left him out to dry. Yeah. I hope that Howie and Jeffrey looked at that press conference, heard the reaction, and realized we screwed up. We left this man out on an island, right? And we did not do him any favors.
The only thing I would have done if I was Sirianni is say, listen, I want Carson as our quarterback. It's not my call. I'm not the general manager. I don't have personnel control. Mm-hmm. I would like, and he could say it is his own way. Look, I'd love to coach him. That's why I'm here, but I don't have anything to do with it. Right. That's what I would have done. I understand. I was also not him. He could do whatever he wants, could say whatever he wants, but I that's the only thing I would have done differently. But my thing is Roseman should have been there to take most, if not all, the Carson Wentz questions and translate them into a way that the media could get what they want, and Howie doesn't have to give them everything they want, because they went after blood here with Sirianni. We told, and that I hate. This is one situation where I wish I was wrong, but we knew where that thing was going when we did that show Friday. It had to be. They're going to go for blood. You knew they were going to do that,
right?
Because what's the biggest question on the football team right now? The quarterback.
Absolutely. All right. So one more thing on this.
Yeah, sure.
Normally you and I try, I think as our role here as objective, good reporters, insiders, is that we try to take a position where we can talk people off the ledge, or we can, put things in perspective. And a lot of times we'll say, I know the fans are reacting this way, but it's not that bad. Relax in this. All right, listen, I do not blame the fans one bit for their reaction to the Sirianni press conference. And I say that, Adam, because you have to put yourself in their shoes. The owner of the team just told you, right, that this guy has great communication skills and has a presence, and that you met with him for 9 hours and that you were blown away. So imagine being the fan and what kind of expectations you were set by what the owner said, and then seeing that. Of course, something's not going to add up in there. Something's not going to. If I owned a business, Adam, and you work for me and you're my top guy, right? And you say, Geoff, I just found the greatest salesman ever. We got to hire him. I spent 9 hours with this guy. I got into his brain. He could sell water to a whale, ice to an Eskimo. And then the guy, I say, Adam, bring him in. And he sits down in front of the chair with me. And he's like, well, we got to have a plan, but and stumbles over the words. I'm going to be like, Adam, what the hell what are you saying? That's the fan right now. It's not
sure, because you're selling me that this guy's got great energy, yes, and he speaks well, he projects well, and
yes,
yeah, I get. Listen, I totally understand. I think some of and I know it's social media, so the guys who don't know football start taking. I love this stuff. This is the stuff that makes me laugh. It's sad, it's disappointing, but the guys there's certain people on social media, so their whole existence on Twitter is to make fun of people who don't speak well or screw up. So
Trolls.
they went after Sirianni, and I get it. That's what you do. That's your deal. Go for it, man.
Right.
But people don't know football, so
you and I know this is no indicator of future success. No. We know Doug. Sometimes the guy loses.
Doug was terrible year one. You know how bad Peterson was in year one? Oh my God. With the media trying to be everyone's friend. Oh gosh, and all that shit.
Yeah, I don't use any past example. Like, people will say, look, Doug won the Super Bowl. He had a terrible press conference. And I could say, well, Adam Gase had a terrible press conference and he actually lost a lot. So it doesn't really matter. Well, it's not like the opposite's always going to happen. The point is, we'll find out. But I do feel bad for the fans. They got told one thing and then saw another.
I get it. I get it. You nailed it. I'm with the fans here. I get their disappointment.
Yeah.
Don't go off the ledge, because the thing is, it's kind of like they were led to believe, as you said, that they were going to get one thing and they got another, and they just feel let down, because your first impression, you want to be blown away.
Mm-hmm.
As I said earlier to start our show, there's nothing else going on in Eagleville here. Nothing other than he's hiring some assistants. We've outlined it on our shows pretty deep, but there's nothing else going on. So you're like dying for this guy because it's taken him a week to have a press conference, and this is what you got. You're like, damn, man, I can't believe, what's wrong with this dude? What, man, I want to be connected to this guy, and I get it. I totally understand it. You have every right to feel let down. I get it, but man, let's get over it already and stop making fun of the guy. I mean,
geez. Now we move on and we actually judge his coaching ability, not his speaking ability. So we'll get into that. All right, what did we learn about the Nick Sirianni press conference from what he said? He did talk
There's some
about
good things though.
The matchup offense.
Yeah, look, I love it. The best part about it, I had a couple things I would question that it was more on the quarterback stuff. The negative was, to me, and I'm taking the guy at his word, but I find it really hard to believe he's not watched any tape. Neither of his coaches watch any tape.
I've been thinking about that. Yeah,
I know it's been a week. I know it's only been
interviewing a ton of coaches, and interviews take a long time. I mean, it's possible.
And I know he's been interviewing like crazy, phone, in person, whatever it's been. I get that, but aren't you? And I know he's anxious. He explained it. He can't wait to watch the tape. I just find it hard to believe that he hasn't watched any, but I got to take him at his word. I love, if you separate his nervousness and his stumbling and you just get to the stuff that really matters. Mm-hmm. I like the stuff about accountability, because I'm told by multiple Eagle sources, accountability was a major bleeping problem under Peterson. The players were not consistently held accountable. And this was a problem throughout Peterson's career, because I know they loved him, but they never feared Peterson. They never feared getting benched. Doug rarely benched players, as you know. So Nelly had to be benched in 2016 because of the stuff he was dealing with. He had to be benched. But as you know, Geoff, he rarely did.
Didn't Mac Hollins go 9 weeks without a target?
Yeah.
Not a catch, a target before they finally put Greg Ward in?
Embarrassing. And I'm hoping that he gets ahead of this stuff. And what I mean is, I'm not saying you got to bench a guy for 2 bad games, but I'm hoping that this new staff, mostly new staff, there are going to be a couple holdovers, but not many. I hope that they set the tone of being hard on these guys. Don't do what Doug did year one. He was not, because Doug was kind of like Sirianni. He was not expected to be head coach this early, and he was. Mm-hmm. Doug grew into the job. You don't see that very much. It could happen, but you don't usually see a guy make a big step like Doug did in year 2. It's almost impossible to see something like that. But I'm hoping that Sirianni gets off to a good start with his assistants. So I thought that was good. I like when he talked about being a smart football team, because the Eagles, with the false starts and just the mental errors, and the other thing that's connected to it, which I also liked, is he talked about he wants the team to be able to process better, less thinking. It's really important, because not that Peterson's offense was hard, but man, the mental errors, and I understand they were playing some young players without an offseason because of COVID, but too many. You want to know why this team was 4? What were they? 4-11-1? What was it?
Yeah.
Something like that? Does that sound right?
4-11-1. Okay.
There were a lot of young players who clearly were not ready, and they looked like they weren't coached very well. Let's be straight about it.
No, I think that's very fair. That's very fair. A couple other things. First, I want to tell people to download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use that promo code ITB to get all of your sign-up bonuses. You got to take advantage of those sign-up bonuses using the promo code ITB on the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app. He talked, Adam, that one of the things I liked, the way he talked about Brian Johnson and the college part of the game that he wants to implement into his offense. And then he went back and noted that in Indianapolis, you know, as you mentioned a couple of pods ago, they had a guy named Tom Manning there from Iowa State, spent a year there. He said they implemented some college concepts. Tom went back to Iowa State for a better role.
Yeah, he
said they kept it.
Yeah, there's no way they were getting him because he's their OC at Iowa State and the head coach he's close with. There's no way they could pay. They're not going to pay him to be a position coach here. Let's say it was tight ends. Okay. You're not going to be able to pay him. I'd have to look up his salary. It's got to be well over $1 million because at these big schools,
right,
they get paid really well. So he was given to me on the list that we gave our literally like 24 hours after he got the job. We're talking about Sirianni. We gave you a list on that show, folks, if you haven't heard it. Here is his targets. I think he got 3 out of his 4. Or 4 out of 5. I can't remember now. But anyway, the one guy he didn't get is Manning because I just don't think the only way it was going to happen is if he had him as OC, and he's not a quarterbacks guy, so that was not going to work.
Right. So that I thought was interesting. You would like to see them implement some of the college game here more. You know, Doug did have motion at times. We saw it, but
late in the season though, man.
Late. It was weird. It was there, and then it's not.
It was like
I know. I don't like to put it all on Doug because I don't know if Carson was behind some of that as well. You know, so I don't know.
Yeah,
and I don't want to make accusations or anything like that. But at least with here, we expect to see that maybe you'll see some of that innovation from the college game in the Eagles offense. Trying to think of one more thing on Sirianni.
Sure.
I got him credit. You know, if you have any self-awareness and you realize maybe the press conference ain't going the way it should, when all is in doubt, drop a few Philadelphia connections right there, right? Villanova 2016 basketball team.
Yeah, Chris Bryant. Yeah.
Kobe Bryant. Chris Jenkins.
Chris Jenkins. Yeah.
Yep. And then he made a Kobe Bryant reference, about how fundamentals. Kobe always had the talent, but he worked on the fundamentals and how they go hand in hand.
He did talk about that in Spadaro's interview the night before. I thought this was interesting. He recruited in the area, so he recruited when he was college coach. Yeah. He recruited St. Joe's Prep. A couple other schools, a couple in Montgomery County, but anyway.
He said CB West, right? That's
yeah. So he knows Central Bucks West. So he knows. Is that Mike Pettin's school? I can't remember.
It was, yeah.
So he knows the area somewhat, and good. Good. We'll see. Look, I get it. Why people are. I think we outlined it pretty well. We totally understand why a lot of fans are disappointed. Right. They want to back the coach immediately and let's go, but it shouldn't change your right. Okay, he didn't move you because he stumbled a little bit. Okay. Now, but here's the thing. He now knows this is a tough media crowd. You better bring your A game and be ready for any kind of question. And that's I'm hoping that he got out of this is, listen, dude, you should have known the quarterback stuff was coming. You don't need your PR people to tell you this. You should know. Come on, man.
I'm with you.
Really?
They like I said, I don't think they did him any favors. I think it was kind of bullshit, to be honest with you.
All right.
I was very surprised about it, but there will be better days, I imagine, for Nick Sirianni.
Yeah. It's not a big deal, but I think you made a fair point about we understand why the fans were disappointed. Oh, the next show we just didn't have any time for it. We'll do the Senior Bowl stuff. We'll knock it out. I got some interesting stuff from the practices from my people, and then
cool,
and your people, and then we'll have more on the coaches of the new. They're going to be more added. And we'll have more intel on some of the other coaches we haven't talked a lot about. And we're in February now, so we're probably going to start hitting positional previews for free agency, who's back, right, who's not back, which we love doing.
Yeah, we'll get into the little roster stuff first, yeah.
Yes, and then remember, there's no combine last year. We reported exclusively at the combine last year.
Killer, man, killer.
That was
I get it.
So much
just
fun.
It hurts.
It hurts because
really
we got some great sleep.
Yeah.
We had this scoop, which I remember being scared to report it because I'm like, man, I got a pretty strong source. I'm like, Geoff, I'm hearing that they're not going to sign a veteran receiver. And I didn't even I was sheepish. I was like, I don't feel good about this. I know it's true because I got great sourcing on. I'm like, how could this be?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I don't know if it was a mistake, but for them not to do it because they, they were going to have Deshaun and
I guess Alshon they thought was going to be back after, and they thought Alshon would be back sooner.
Yeah. Well, they got it. They've got to rebuild that receiver room. They've got to.
I agree. Rebuild. There are a couple of positions they got to rebuild. Before we get out of here,
go ahead. Cornerback. What do you think besides receiver? What other
cornerback has to be rebuilt?
Yep.
I think linebacker right now you got one good one in Alex Singleton, and you certainly need to rebuild it. You're not gonna. I know they're not going to spend $10 million but you still have to build it.
Draft them.
Exactly. So a couple of positions. Really quick before we get out, your thoughts on the Matthew Stafford-Jared Goff trade?
Very unique. I put something out on Fox Sports Radio Saturday. I said I think it's going to go down within 48 hours. I knew most of the teams, but the thing that floored me, I had no idea Jared Goff would be included in that.
Yeah.
I understand for the Lions to get the compensation they wanted. They kind of, if they wanted 2 1s, they were taking Jared Goff.
Right.
It's very, very unique. It's a very unique situation, but with Deshaun Watson now, if I'm and I know for a fact the Texans are not even remotely interested in trading him right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you what, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens as we get closer to the draft with Deshaun Watson, because if the kid's never going to show up, you're going to have to make a decision here.
Definitely.
Definitely.
If David Culley, who I love, can't get through, can't change his mind, then it's going to be difficult.
Well, here's the thing. He hasn't gotten in front of him yet. Neither is Nick Sirianni. So I'm not Nick Caserio. They haven't gotten in front of him. It's really hard. And this Jared Goff contract, look, they could, if they want to walk from him after 1 year, they can very easily. As a matter of fact, there's all the signing bonus proration stays with the Rams. He would have 3 years left after this season, and he just has there's some roster bonuses, and if he's on the roster at a point in 22, his base salary becomes fully guaranteed. But they could just not pay. They could cut him and not owe him anything. So they're going to rent him for 1 year.
Well, it's amazing how long the Rams are going to go without having a first-round pick. But I do think that having Matthew Stafford and that team that they had a great defense last year. I mean, I think you can buy that it was worth it for them to make that move. Now, they could come out with a big chart and talk about how when you're picking out at the bottom of the first round, you really only get most of your Pro Bowlers and all pros are top 5, top 10. And once you get to 20 to 30, you're almost some guys aren't even good starters, right? So they can build a good argument. And people are going to be like, yeah, you went 7 years without a first-round pick, bro. You're not selling anybody.
The late Ted Thompson would never do this.
Oh my God, he would. He
hated he hated free agency. And my friend Bill Polian, he rarely. He's usually guys on the cheap, and Adam Vinatieri and David Thornton, just guys that were good team guys and all that. But they're doing it the exact opposite. But my understanding is, before we get out of here, this is totally head coach driven. McVay wanted him off the roster. He had no interest in Goff anymore.
Wow.
That's what I was told. And this is the most. What an awkward press conference Les Snead had. They're a GM this earlier last week. 50-minute press conference. He was basically pressed to the wall to stay that he was the starter. He goes, well, he's our starter for now.
Yeah,
they didn't even hide it, man, that he was out. They wanted him off the roster, but it was really head coach driven.
Yeah, well, it's an amazing business.
Yep.
You get signed to an extension 1 year, you're traded the next.
2 years ago.
All right, that will do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks to our producer, Hunter Brody. Check him out on YouTube. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads. His Twitter account is @Broads81. And of course, as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.